Hi, it's been a few days. Sorry about that. I've been moving house. I'm now in my new apartment. Not quite finished moving, but pretty close. And I wanted to tell you a little about myself and my condition and a little bit about the hat. First about me, I saw the doctor the other day, says my leg's okay now, I can start walking again. I'm going to start the day after tomorrow, that's Sunday. But I'm going to take it sort of easy. Between my age and the fact I just had this injury, I'm going to keep my walking to, I think, a maximum of 6 hours a day and not 6 hours of hard walking like I did for a couple days. And I'm good to go. Oh, also, I'm probably going to take buses for a few of the long stretches of road, at least for the first week or so, to favor my leg and get, if not back on schedule, because I don't really have a schedule, but I really want to get completely around the pilgrimage in the month of May or the beginning of June, because in June, sometimes the rainy season hits hard. We have a rainy season in Japan in late spring, and sometimes there's a little rain now and then, an occasional afternoon thunderstorm. Sometimes it sort of rains all day. And walking in wet socks all day and not being able to dry them at night isn't a lot of fun. So I'm going to take a few buses. That's about me. Now, about the hat, which you've seen. Now, these are a little bit controversial among foreign pilgrims because they're kind of awkward. Oops. They can interfere with your pack, so if you're wearing a full backpack, you can't tip your head up to the sky like that. In the wind, they can sort of go crazy. This one, actually, I have to fix a little bit already. It's the hat I had before. I walked the pilgrimage twice, and it was fine, and I didn't have any serious problems with it. But I think these hats are made now more for the bus pilgrims, and they don't get as hard use. One of the interesting things, actually there are three interesting things here on the top. Get the rain cover off. These hats, by the way, are great in the rain as long as it's not too windy. They're also great in the sun as long as it's not too windy. First of all, you'll see this, which is not Japanese. It's not a Chinese character. It's a Sanskrit letter. It's U, I believe. And it's an unusual style of Sanskrit letter called Siddham. This has a strong connection to the origins of Shingon Buddhism. Shingon Buddhism is a kind of Vajrayana Buddhism. And in Vajrayana Buddhism, there's an emphasis on mantra. Everyone in North America and Europe, I'm sure, is familiar with the mantra from Tibet, Om Mani Padme Hum. These are short phrases that have a variety of meanings. There's an exoteric meaning, the obvious meaning. Om Mani Padme Hum means Om, the jewel in the lotus, Hum. And the jewel in the lotus can refer to various things, which I'm not going to get into now because it would take way too long and I forget half of it anyway. But there's an emphasis on pronouncing the mantras correctly. When Sanskrit texts were translated into Chinese in the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th centuries, the Chinese syllabary doesn't have the exact same sounds as Sanskrit. So for Vajrayana text, their tradition grew up to use this script, this particular script, which was current at that time for writing Sanskrit, called Siddham, to write the mantras. So when Kukai, the Japanese monk who went to China and brought Shingon Buddhism to Japan, when he went there, he learned this script so he could correctly write and teach Japanese monks how to pronounce the mantras. Shingon, by the way, is the Japanese pronunciation of the Chinese characters. I think it's Shen Yen in Chinese, which means true word, which is the Chinese translation of the Sanskrit word mantra. So this character on the front of the hat ties me back to this Vajrayana tradition of Buddhism, which developed about 1,500 years ago, a little more perhaps. On the back of the hat, it says in Chinese characters, but reading it in Japanese, Dogo ni nin, traveling together two persons, which, as I mentioned in an earlier video, means the pilgrim is traveling with Kobodaishi. And as I think I also mentioned, Dogo, traveling together, can also be interpreted as practicing Buddhism together. Okay. There's also a poem here. The poem, I think, was probably originally written, well, I'm not sure if it was originally written in Chinese or Japanese. It's exclusively Chinese characters for the poem. There's no hiragana, which would indicate definitely that it's written in Japanese originally. And I've got a couple translations here. Being lost is due to the three large worlds of desire. With enlightenment, 10,000 skies will appear. Originally, there is no east and west. Why is there a north and south? That's the translation by David Morton. David Turkington, another friend and writer about the pilgrimage, has translated it slightly differently. Lost and confused, the three worlds become a prison. In enlightenment, everything is empty. In essence, there is no east or west. Where then is there a north and south? So you have an esoteric Buddhist poem written on the hat, two traveling together, and you, the Siddham script. This syllable is indicative of Kobodaishi, Kukai. And this hat is one of the real marks of a pilgrim doing the pilgrimage. But as with so many of the traditions of the pilgrimage, it's not a very old tradition. In the earliest photos of pilgrims and drawings of pilgrims, they would almost always wear a hat. Similar design, not exactly this design. But from what I can see in the old pictures, there was nothing written on the hat. So carrying this poem on your head and the seed syllable for Kobodaishi and two traveling together, this seems to be part of the 20th century revival of the pilgrimage. So it's okay if you don't want to wear the hat when you're walking the pilgrimage. As I said, particularly a lot of foreign pilgrims and some Japanese as well, if they're walking, don't like the hat. It can be difficult to deal with, it breaks, it's useless in the wind. You have to hold it with one hand in the wind or tie it on your pack. I'm going to keep trying to use it. If I can keep it in good condition after I do this video, I'm going to see how well I can repair it. So when you see future videos, starting with Sunday, 2 days from now, it's Friday in Japan right now. Starting with Sunday, you'll see me with the hat, and we'll see if I can keep it in good enough shape to keep using it. I'll see you out on the trail. And please remember, please subscribe to the channel, tell your friends. I'd like to have a big audience for these. Thanks.